All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another stream here on the Dre Sanchez YouTube channel. We're doing something a little different today. We are actually just going to be streaming some Digital Combat Simulator, and let me go ahead and check out, make sure everything is good so far, which it looks like it is. So this is a game that I've been interested in, or a simulator that I've been interested in streaming for some time. So here we are, and we are going to make it happen. And sometimes just a little, I don't know why it does it, but sometimes once I click back onto the actual DCS, it will go to a bit of a black screen really briefly, as you see, and then it comes back live. So just know when I'm switching back and forth between the broadcasting software, it may do that, so no big worries there. So again, without further ado, we're gonna just go ahead and do a quick training mission here. We are at Batumi in the Caucasus map, and we're just going to be testing out some of our capabilities of being able to target enemy vehicles and actually take them out. So I'm still somewhat in the novice phase of this game, even though I've had it since 2014. I haven't really invested any time in it. Now I'm kind of getting an interest back into the sim world. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and jump in. As you can see here, this is the A10-C by Eagle Dynamics, which is a pretty good replica of the aircraft. Of course, they have the A10-C2 now with Digital Combat Simulator. Hey, what's up, Captain Cooper? How you doing? Thanks for joining the stream here. And as I was saying, this A10-C has been around since the 1970s. It's a slower fixed-wing aircraft with the engines mounted up high on the fuselage, which enables it to withstand a little bit more damage than normal, but also protect the engines from any other type of harm that will come to them from surface to air or anti-aircraft weapons and all that stuff. So this is a pretty amazing aircraft. I won't get into the whole boring history of it, but it's pretty interesting. That's why I like fly it, even though I plan to also do some air-to-air stuff, not with this one, but as I get better with the F-16. So let's go ahead and jump on to the into the cockpit here, and we'll get started with our startup. Let's see here. Every now and then my mouse slips out of the view. So again, we're at Batumi in the parking station. It's basically just us right now running this training mission, and the aircraft is cold and dark. So let's go ahead and make that piece of it history and get it up and running where it's not cold and dark. So of course, we're going to go ahead and put on the battery power and click the inverter, and you can see the aircraft coming alive. And really quick, before we do anything else, we want to go ahead and test our fuel gauge here, and it should usually balances right there about 5,900 pounds, and then it'll show that we have more than that in there. I've got some fuel in there so that we can do several passes going on here. And just give me 1 second. My boss just walked in, so I'm going to mute the microphone. The boss being my wife. Give me 1 second here. Okay, I am back. That was my wife. She was bringing me some food, so hopefully I'll be able to take some bites of that during the cruise phase of the flight, which is actually not long. Okay, over here we also want to select this here, which is our lamp test, so we don't necessarily have to go all the way down there. So we'll just make sure all of our lights and gauges are working, of course, in which they are. So that is a good thing. And from that point on, we also need to go ahead and start our alternate power unit. The alternate power unit is essential in the aircraft startup as well, so that we don't drain the batteries. So let me know if my voice is getting drowned out, and I will turn the engine sounds down a little bit. So hopefully that noise isn't drowning out. Perhaps I'll do a sound check here on my own in a second. Okay, now that the APU is up and running, you can see it's 100% and the exhaust gas temperature is stabilized just above 4. We can go ahead and activate our APU generator. And to get rid of some of that noise, let's go ahead and close this cockpit. There we go. Hopefully that's much more manageable on the noise. I know it's quite loud out there. Alright, so now we're in the cockpit with the door closed, which now is going to mitigate some of those loud noises. Now we need to go ahead and start getting the rest of the aircraft brought up. First thing I like to do is get the CDU going here and the IGGI, because it does take some time for them to align. So we'll go ahead and turn the CDU on and IGGI. In the meantime too, we'll go ahead and get some of our lights on to let folks know the aircraft is coming alive. So we're going to come over here and actually put this to steady. One click down to steady. And we don't need to turn any of this on yet until we get going. But our flash there is to steady, which is basically the navigation lights. Now we can come over here to our left and right MFCDUs. And we're going to do 2 clicks to turn the screens on there. And then after that, we need to also come down here and turn on this KICU so they come to life. And we also need to start our IFFCC bit test. So as you can see here in the HUD, it's asking to engage the pre-flight bit. We're going to say yes, of course. And that process is going to start here. Now, one thing I did notice with one of the updates that they did with this is the fact that this green, and there's no way to adjust the HUD, this green that you see in there used to be a little bit darker, so sometimes it makes it a little hard to see during flight operations, but that's just something we have to deal with. I'm going to get some other aircraft as well in DCS, and their HUDs are darker. I just have to learn them first, so there's a lot of different learning that happens with these versus other aircraft and a normal, just commercial flight simulator like X-Plane and
pull up
Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. All right,
altitude,
now that this is happening, we can do a few other different things with the aircraft. Like we can go ahead and turn on our yaw SAS and our pitch SAS, which aids us in the autopilot and making sure that the hydraulics control those surfaces with what it needs. So the bit test is done here, which is awesome. So we can basically come here, click enter, and to exit, we're going to use our select rocker all the way down to the exit and hit enter. And then now we can put the IFFCC up into the full on mode with another right click up, and there you go. All right, now that that is complete, we want to go ahead and load what we call our data cartridges. As you see, we're going to load the tactical display, the DSMS, which is our digital stores management page, and the TGB, which is our targeting pod, and anything else. So we're just going to click this load all, and that'll be happening in a second. Another one of our artificial horizons here, our secondary backups, we want to go ahead and uncage that. So that is uncaged there for your pleasure. And once all the asterisks come back here, we can start messing with these two screens. It's still loading Until those asterisks come back, we can't do anything, and they just came back. In the meantime, let's go ahead. We're going to turn our radios on here, and if you want to get a better look at what this panel looks like, it's right here. But what now we're doing is we're turning our VHF radios and our UHF on for communication. Where we are at right now, we require this VHF, and I believe this is the AM receiver. Batumi round is on 131, so let's get that set up so we can call for startup. This is usually the last part of the process, but so that you don't accidentally eject yourself on the ground, but I'm going to arm it here for simulation purposes. Now, one of the things that I want you guys to know who don't know anything about DCS, our CDU, which is our control display unit, is also here, but to make it easier to be seen. And again, those that know DCS who are way more experienced than I am know this already. I'm just sharing this in case people on my channel don't know this. You can also put it here, and as you see here, this T and equals, once this gets to 4.0.0.0, this will be flashing INS nav ready, and then we can put it on the nav and get that situation going. But in the meantime, we can come over here and start working on some of our other systems that we'll need in order to get on target. One of the things we need to do is come into our digital stores management page, of course, and let me get it a little closer here. And we need to start setting up some profiles here. For our missiles, we do need to turn this EO on, and we are going to turn this by location. And let's start putting in, I usually use 359 for this training mission, so we'll put in 359 on the bearing to make it active, with a range of about, let's see, let's clear that out. I actually want the range to be more or less like 30 nautical miles out. And then, of course, our target waypoint is waypoint 3. So we're going to come in here and put waypoint 3 in there. And now we have our missile control. Basically what this is, so the missile and the laser and all that good stuff need to become active. Normally, if this is on manual, the pilot, myself, would have to laze it by pushing the nose steering wheel button. But instead, I want it to come on by itself, so I changed it to location. We picked waypoint 3 as a location with a range of 30 nautical miles on a bearing, which I should cross at 359, since the egress into the target area is, I believe, a northern trajectory. Anyway, that's why we're doing that. So now we're going to go back over here to the stats page. The rest of this we can kind of manage in the air. But I'll arm the laser right now and turn our TGP on to get that going, because it does take some time. As you can see here, it's flashing INS nav ready. So we'll go ahead and now click nav. And now we can take our navigation that's binded to our HSI and all that stuff, and we're going to put it on Iggy. So now it's going to follow that navigation. And then we are going to go over here and put our EAC on, which has to do, let me look under there. Which has to do with our autopilot, which is not the normal autopilot that you would use in a commercial aircraft for flying passengers. And of course, I want this up to path, because once we do our climb, I want it to hold the heading. So I put that to path there. And Captain Nate says, does the A10 have a data link? The A10, Captain Nate, does have a data link on it, so that you can receive intel from the AWACS, as well as from other aircraft, like steer points and putting mark points and all that on there, which I am still getting better with that, Captain Nate, but it does have that ability to link up with other aircraft and AWACS. I'm not going to turn this on just yet, the CWS system. I'm going to go ahead and call for our aircraft start now. I like to burn the APU more so than the engines on startup, so that we save a little gas. So at this point, we're going to do the mic switch forward and go ahead and get A10-C going here. We are at Batumi, so that's going to be F1. And now we can go ahead and request startup.
Batumi, Pig 1-1, request startup. Pig 1-1, Batumi, cleared for startup.
Alright, so we have been cleared for startup. And again, you guys, I haven't really checked the audio on this, so let me know if the aircraft noises are too loud. Then I'll turn them down, of course. Okay, as you guys can see, the menu's up here on the right. I'm going to get rid of it, because sometimes the mouse will think I'm trying to use that menu click the mouse. So now you can see these are off and clear. We don't have our parking brake set, our emergency brake, but that's fine. We won't even start rolling. We're checking all the surfaces. The left engine is off and the right engine is off and clear. There are no covers on it. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and do a left engine startup first. So we'll bring that, introduce some fuel. We'll manually or visually look for rotation on the turbine. You can see it happening. And then of course, we're going to go down here now and look at our gauges. And Captain Nate says, oh nice, yes, the A10 does have a data link. As you can see now, we have the gauges coming up for the left side of the engine. Of course, we need to monitor everything here just to make sure that we don't have any problems, a hung start, or anything where we need to shut the engine down off that would cause a fire. So I've been flying the F-16. The thrust to weight ratio is insane. Oh, I bet, Captain Nate says. Yeah, I can't wait to get it more into the F-16. I used to fly it back in the day, but I don't have the new one, Captain Nate. But I'm going to start getting it and training up on it. So my older brother, who's about 3.5 years older than me, he's 47. He's actually a retired Navy guy. He used to work on the F-18 avionics. He was avionics tech for 25, 26 years. So I'm going to be getting into a few different of these aircraft. All right, guys, we got good rotation. And a good start on the left engine. Again, let's go back and visually look at it, and you can see it's rotating fine. Now we're going to once again check for any debris or anything obstructing the right engine. It looks good. All right, we call right engine. Let's turn this master caution off, which is just letting us know that the left engine was on. Okay, right engine is coming on. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce this into the idle phase, which is basically bringing it from off and introducing fuel. We are most certainly coming back down now to monitor these engine gauges here. And Captain Nate says thrust and not trust. Thrust to weight. Oh yes, it is insane, Nate. I love flying those aircraft with as much thrust as they have and how many tons they can carry with all their armament. It is amazing. Alright guys, so we have the right engine still coming up. And we'll make it a little quieter in here in a second once we get the APU off. Again, this target range is just something I just simply set up simply because I wanted to get my own target practice without flying multiplayer or anything like that. I still have a lot of training to do in this aircraft, guys, so by no means am I an expert on here. The right engine is stable. We're going to do our visual look, and there's no spikes of anything. So at this point, guys, the AC generators have already been set to on, so they've already taken over, so we can turn our APU power off. And of course, we're going to come over here and turn the actual APU off. You'll hear it spooling down now. The APU is now spooling down, and we can continue the rest of our aircraft startup. Okay, one thing that we want to do for sure is you want to make sure that you put your trim to the takeoff. So I like to hold that. For takeoff trim, we have all of our SAS on, all of our boost pumps are on, or we couldn't have started the aircraft. Right now, our flaps, we need to go ahead and set those bad boys down to the takeoff position, which is flaps 10. And we need to get our anti-skid on, and of course you'll look up here and then we'll activate our nose wheel steering. So now you see that steering is engaged here, and we will turn our pitot heat on once we get over there. But now we are about to leave, so let's turn our anti-collision light into the up position, and now we will put our position flash on upon takeoff. So as it stands right now, we are pretty much good to go. Let's put our CDU down here, our steering points from mission. Let's turn it all over to flight plan. And let us get out of here right now, folks, to go do our bombing run. Alright guys, so everything looks good. I'm just doing a once over. Oh, you know what? We need to turn our JTRS on, of course. And then we need to get this into the standby position. Once we take off, we'll put that in auto. And we are officially prepared for takeoff, guys. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and request taxi to the active runway, which more than likely is going to be runway 31. All right. Let's go ahead and request this. Request taxi to the runway.
Natumi, Pig 1-1. Request taxi to runway.
And once we get in the air, we're not checking in with AWACS or anything like that.
Clear to taxi to runway 31.
All right, we have been cleared to taxi. So at that point, guys, you know what we need to do? We need to go ahead and put our taxi lights on, which we did. Let's go outside really quick and get a quick view of what we look like, because we know we look good. And as you can see, we have our lights on. We got our taxi lights on. It's quite loud. Woo, it's loud out there. All right, guys, let's get going here. There is no parking brake to release, so we'll look right on the ramp area and look left on the ramp area and begin our taxi. Power up. Man, I didn't actually run a checklist here, but I always feel like I'm missing something. We'll get our master arm on and our gun packs armed because we will do some gun runs today. Alright guys, and I'll be checking in on the chat as much as possible here. This is a little bit more consuming than X-Plane and other simulators just because there's so much going on here. Alright, and we are taxiing. Once we cross the hold short taxi line, we'll go ahead and put on our request, but they will not answer until we hit the runway threshold. Alright, this is the Bravo entrance to runway 31. So now what I usually do here is a little coast. Let's do our MyCat switch and do our request for takeoff.
Atumi, Pig 1-1, request takeoff. Peak 1-1, Atumi, you are cleared for takeoff when ready. Climb 300 at QFE 29.89.
Alright, we just switched our altimeter to what they wanted. 29er 89er is on the altimeter, and I believe in the combat area that we're going it's going to be 29er 92, but we're just going to leave it to 29er 89er because we will be returning right here for a nice, hopefully soft touchdown. Back when we've exhausted most of our weapons and I've hopefully hit more than I've missed, but I will miss guys today. Don't let there be a mistake. I'm still practicing on a couple of the unguided bombs. Alright, our pitot heat is on. Nose wheel steering will be disactivated at 50 knots. The engine temps look good. Here we go, guys. Takeoff power is set. Trying to hold center line. Okay, I just took off the nose steering wheel to hold center line. Now the rudder is in play. We're going to wait till about 1:30 to rotate. Okay, we're going to start our rotation now, ensuring we don't do a tail strike. Alright, we have positive climb. Landing gear is up and on the way, folks. I'm going to try to get us a climb to steering point 2. We're going to try to manage our climb at about 180 full throttle. Here in a second we'll get it on autopilot. Let me pick up some speed here really quick. And then we'll have to turn our lights off. And you know what? We never even put the lights on to takeoff lights, so that's okay. Alright guys, we're going to go flaps up completely. I like to keep them up for a little bit of a stable takeoff. Now we're not going to have that drag. Alright, you can see we're leaving the coast area just nice. We're going to climb up to about 10,000 feet today because we're going to do some high level attacks. We're at about 182 knots now. Remember I told you I set up the autopilot in order to hold our pitch, but I'm sorry, not hold our pitch, but hold our heading. And there you go. Okay, let's get these lights off. And now that we've left the airport area, we are also going to turn off these lights. Alright, so that's the one thing that we did. So we have a pretty smooth takeoff. We're climbing. We could probably pitch up a little bit more, but that's okay. I'm going to reduce power a little bit. And then we can start working, getting some of the other aircraft systems ready. Let's make sure we're getting ourselves to a combat situation here. Now we're headed direct towards steering point 1. So here in a second we'll go steer point 2 to get things set up. And then after that, we are simply going to go ingress right into the target. which will be off the coast over here somewhere. So it's not that far. So I brought us over the water to get everything ready, and we'll get some runs in and do it that way. In the meantime, we're climbing. Our speed here is looking good on our secondary analog flight speed indicator. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and put this to master arm, and we're going to arm the gun pack now. Our TGP and laser are all good to go, so we don't have that to worry about. Right now we're just passing 5,000 feet even, and we're still at about 213, so that is all good to go. Now here in a second, once we get to second waypoint, I'm going to make the sensor of interest stay the HUD, and we'll find a sensor point of interest at the field, since basically what I did is on the third waypoint I've made it ground level so that we can easily slew all sensor to one point of interest, and we can attack that target, and we'll watch it detonate on this screen. Some of it will do the weapons. The first one will probably do the screen. Second one will come and do a weapons view to watch the weapon destroy the target. Alright, I still like our climb speed. We're getting a little higher here. It's getting a little thinner. It's coming down, so I'll probably drop the nose here a little bit. And now we can essentially start following. We'll click the steer point here to go to, I don't know if you guys can see that, it's very light here, but now we'll go to waypoint 2. I'll disengage the autopilot so that we can make our turn. Autopilot is disengaged. And we'll still keep, you know, between 2.5 to 5 degrees nose up. And our next point's only 10 degrees off, so we'll see it come into sight here in a second. There it is right there, folks. It's promised. Now, one thing that's blocking the HUD is that CCIP invalid. Don't worry about that. And I'm going to keep us climbing just like this, guys. So we're at 7,000. I'll take the autopilot off and fix that up here in a second. I'm going a little faster than I want to go, so we'll bring the speed back. And we don't really have much to do to set it up, so even though we are 21 miles, if you can look at that distance right here from our next waypoint, which is waypoint 2 at about 8,000, we're going to go ahead and select waypoint 3 here, which is 41 nautical miles away, which is awesome. And here in a second, we're going to turn inbound. All I want to do is come over here and actually, let's go back. Here's what we need to do before we get ahead of ourselves, folks. We're going to go back to 2. We got 19 miles to go. Let me slow that down. We need to start setting up some profiles here. Okay, so now we're going to get into our profiles. The first thing we're going to be shooting is our AMG 65 Deltas. So let's go ahead. Actually, we don't need to select it first. Let's go ahead and just go into profile, and we can use OSB 19 to... we're going to do some rockets in CCIP mode. That's okay. Let's go into the profile for the Mavericks. We see we have them on single, which to me is just fine. We only have them loaded anyway on one side, one pylon, which is on the right side. So pretty much there's nothing here except we're going to change this minimum altitude. I just put 100 in here. Not that we'll ever be that low, but I just give it a value to make sure the weapon doesn't malfunction when we fire it. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And for that one, that's just fine. Now, let's look at our mileage here and our speed. We're at 216. We're at 10,000. Hang on one second, guys. So now we're going to switch the profile from path, and we're going to switch it over here to where it's going to be on altitude and heading. So I'll take the autopilot off, and I don't want to climb anymore. So we're just going to bring the nose down, and I'm going to bring the power down slightly. Right there. And I'll re-engage the autopilot. Now we are holding our pitch and our lateral movements, or our horizontal movements. I'll bring the speed back. We're at about 10.5. That's good, because like I said, we're going to do some high-level attacks today, just until we decide to do some bomb runs and maybe guided missile runs. Okay, let's come back over here. All right, we're going to go into the GBU-12 profile. Now in this profile, first of all, if you ever want to look and see where your weapons are at, we got only 1 GBU per each side, so we're going to drop these in pairs. So here's the GBU 12s on pylons 4 and pylon 8 on the right side, okay? Or rail or rack, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, let's go ahead and go back into the profile, and let me take a quick peek at my speed, because this thing will get away from me. Okay, we're right where I want to be, 200 knots, and we've got 9.5 miles. Okay, we're good to keep messing around here. All right, so anyway, let's go back to our GBU 12 profile. We're going to go in here. So we're going to say we want this to drop in pairs. Now, if you cycle through them, you got ripple single, which means it's going to fall off the rack in sequence if there's more than one bomb on that side, which we don't have to worry about. And then you have ripple pair, same thing, back to single. We want to do pairs. I want both bombs to drop at the same time, so we can get max effect. And then, of course, we're going to put this into CCRP mode. So instead of looking for the impact point, we wanted the HUD to tell us when we can release the weapon. Then, of course, we're going to come over here and do one more thing. We're going to put our laser time to 10 seconds. We want that laser to fire, to arm everything, to get right on. And then, of course, we're going to put our minimum altitude to drop this munition at 1,000 feet. So I'm just putting that into the scratch pad, and now that's in there. And we'll climb out, we'll go up, and the auto laze is off, so we need to turn that to auto laze on, folks. So auto laze is on, and we've got the 10-second laze time and minimum altitude of 1,000 feet. Let's go ahead and save that into our profile. The GBU 38, there's really not a whole lot to do with, nor the Mavericks, because we only have one loaded on. So now we are pretty good. Once we make our turn, we'll turn our Maverick weapon on. We have about 3.5 nautical miles to our next point, but we don't need to wait on that at all, folks. So let's go ahead and get our target area waypoint pulled back up so you can see it's here as well. And you can also see more information over here as well, other than just having your normal CDU. I could put more nav information by using, let's say, like function and waypoint. Now it's going to ask me, is it a steer point or waypoint, anchor point? I can come over here and click steer point, and then you can find out more information. And of course, it's already got steer point 3. It gives you, a bunch of different information here that you can use. It even gives you whatever wind it thinks it's at. That wind is at 0 knots out of the south, as you can see there, basically, and the latitude and longitude and all that good stuff. So we'll leave that screen there for now. And we're getting ready to start our turn over to waypoint 3. So let's go ahead and take it off autopilot. Our speed is being managed well, so we know waypoint 3 is right over here. So let's try to do our level evil turn. Sorry, I had to mute the mic there. I was over there coughing. Even messed up my turn. Keep it level. Alright, so now it's about 20 degrees off, so we'll start banking left a little bit. It's going to come into sight here soon. And we got about 34 nautical miles, so it's going to come up pretty quick. We'll keep it right off of our right wing right now. You don't want to get the target basically right at your 12 o'clock. Usually the 10 or 2 position is better. Okay, we're going autopilot on, and we'll keep the speed there. Alright guys, we're getting ready to do our first run. So at this point, I'm going to pause the track IR right there so you can see the 2 screens. There's the TGP. We're going to go ahead and arm that. It's bore-sighted right now, so it's just looking directly where the aircraft is looking. And then, of course, here, guys, we want to go ahead and arm our first weapons that we're going to be pickling or releasing. So you can see it's the MAV. It's in CCIP mode, but that doesn't mean anything because we're just going to basically lock the target up using the TGP in this. And make it work. We'll slew it around. So now we have the Maverick screen on and nothing to worry about. Let's look at our speed. Our speed is good. We're right at 195, which is fine for me. A nice slow approach. Now what we're going to do, guys, again, right now the HUD is the sensor of interest. So we see our waypoint or steer point is right over here over the target area because we are going to waypoint 3. So now what we're essentially going to do is I'm just going to slew these all sensors to this waypoint 3 by doing the China hat long hold. As you can see now, all sensors just pointed directly on the combat area. Now we also want to zoom in a little bit on that sensor area. So what we can do is basically we are going to choose the TGP as soy, and as you can see, I just did that. Now that this is soy, we can zoom in a little bit more with one push, and now you can start seeing the field. Let me get even closer for you guys. There you go. So now what we're going to do, because this is soy, I'm going to use my DMS hat to zoom in slightly. And there's some targets right there on the field. Those are some BMPs. Okay, so we are max zoom. That looks pretty good there. Now I'm going to put this to point. And now I'm going to make this the sensor point of interest, which I just did. So now what's happened is our weapon is definitely honed in on that target, but we're still too far out. Once we get about 10 nautical miles from the target, we're going to get a range finder right here, and then we'll go in and find that specific target, and then we'll pickle our weapon. So right now we've got about 26 miles to go, so everything else is good so far. So at this point, we don't really need to do a whole lot. We've already set everything up. In a normal world, before you enter the combat area, you would essentially make sure that you check in with JTAC or the AWACS to let them know you're on station and that you're ready for work. And then at that point, they either assign you an area of responsibility if it's contingent or inherent of your mission plan. And from that point, you would start either searching if you're doing a patrol or engaging targets, like if you were on a SEED mission. Close CAS missions or close air support missions, they have all types of different responsibilities, which again, I don't promise to be the know-all be-all of all of this, you know, even though of course you guys know, if anybody knows me, I'm a military man, former combat Army veteran, so I love this stuff. It makes me feel like I'm doing something purposeful again in the military, with a military mindset here. So we've got our targets all good to go. Let's see if we can get a little flyby going on here. Alright, busted out a little flyby there, doing a little show and tell. As we get just a little bit closer to our target, I will most certainly, potentially, and most indubitably bring the nose just right so we can be a little bit more 12 o'clock, even though technically you would approach an enemy target area with using different tactics. We're just doing target practice right now. And those tactics, you know, I need to get a little bit better on those tactics too. One thing you can notice, before we were a lot further out from the target, but we're closer now. So we can essentially now, oh, it's still zoomed in as much as possible. Okay, that's fine. And you can see from this point here, we have 17.2 nautical miles to go to hit this target. If you look at the waypoint, it's right at 17 nautical miles, so that matches up as well. And as we get a little closer, I still think it's dead on the target. That enemy is going to be destroyed once we launch our munition. However, let's just get it a little bit more over dead center. On the target. And then we'll make it the speed. Okay, I like that right there. So let's remake it the speed. And then I'll reslave all sensors there. Which didn't move much, basically, so you're not going to notice anything. Alright, we're at about 13 miles to the area of concern. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take it off autopilot. Now that it has went off on my visual view from the HUD, and we're just going to bank right slightly, keeping our same altitude, and we just want to keep it in our HUD. Alright, now it's basically right at my 12 o'clock. Again, you normally wouldn't do this. This wouldn't be the best tactics. You know, you might even do an orbit, a large orbit around the target area at a high enough altitude to make sure that their enemy defenses, such as the anti-aircraft weapons and all that good stuff, would not impact you. Okay guys, now we got some action here. We essentially have just got our range carrot here. Now what we need to do is we need to make this our sensor of interest, and as we get closer, we are, oh, you know what, we need to change the slew rate, so when I'm slewing it around, it gives me a better rate of slew. We just changed that to 2. And you can see it's right on that target, but I'm going to wait for us to get a little closer in order to launch this Maverick, simply because I don't want it locking everything up so we can see the pretty destruction view on this. So let me make that, oops. I'm going to make this screen soy again because I want to back it off so we can see the destruction. There we are, it's still on there. Alright, we're at about 6 miles here. Let's go ahead and lock it up. So I'm going to just bring this down a little bit. And I'll bring it down a little bit. And over and down. Still hasn't locked it up. Come on. Come on. Once it gets in enough range, it recognizes what it is, and it's going to lock it right on up, folks. There we go. Alright, it is currently locked up at 4.5 nautical miles. We're going to go look at our pylon, and alright, box 3. There we go. And we have the weapon is out of the box. Now this time we're going to watch it on this screen over here. So essentially now I'm going to make this screen sensor point so we can back it off. It should be hitting the target in roughly 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. And I wonder if we had a miss. Alright, so it looks like we potentially had a miss. That weapon did not hit the target that was intended to. So that just simply means that we didn't do something to the best of our ability. So I don't know where that munition went. Let's see, the EO was on. Now the only thing I can think of is what we'll do is we will, the only thing I can think of is it didn't laze appropriately. So the EO is on here. Gimbal limits. So that's alright guys, we're going to do another run here. And this time I believe we'll do the GBU run because we want to see, that's awkward that we didn't hit it. We had a lock on it and everything and it just didn't hit. So we'll continue to fly our course here and we'll get something else. Alright, let's turn and burn, baby, Captain Nate says. Alright guys, so we're going to stay right here for a second and maybe our next run we'll do something else. So we pickled the weapon, and I'm just surprised. I've never really missed with this AIM-65 Delta. Let's go ahead and go into the profile for the GBU-38, and we'll do a bomb run, guys. And destroy that target. GBU-38. Let's go into view profile. Let's see. Okay, we're going to do the minimum altitude. We're going to just put that as 1,000. Then see its nose tail fusing. And let's change this minimum altitude to 1,000. Alright, we'll save that profile. Now the only thing I can think of too is that the equipment downstairs on the ground, sometimes they do have scrambling and they have their own defenses of not getting hit, so that does happen. So now our GBU profile is set up. Now we can even just arm our actually, let's go back into the profile again and do one more thing. I want to see, I only want to drop 1 GBU at a time. Nose tail. So it's only going to give us, I think, 1 drop at a time. I'm curious because it doesn't even give you that in here in this profile. So the GBUs are pretty straightforward. I think we can only drop 1 at a time, even though let's arm both sides. And we got that going. CCRP, yep, they're singles. So nose, tail, fusing. All right, guys, let's see how far we are from that steer point. 3 nautical miles. Okay, we're about 9. Okay, this is far enough for us to turn around. Our sensors should still be on that. So we'll turn around and make sure that is what it is. But in the meantime, we are up here. Our GBU is armed, and it is in GBU 38. It's in CCRP. Okay, it should be set up. We should be set up for it. All right, here we guys go. We're going to turn around. So if you guys know we passed it at the north, you can essentially assume that our new heading is going to be 250 basically. Since we're basically going 70, so we're going to do a left turn to our waypoint now. All right. This time we'll do a weapons follow once we drop the bomb and see if we actually hit the target. Again, I'm very surprised that our Maverick did not strike. I've done strikes this high above and it was just fine. So we'll see what's going on. All right, coming around basically 250, so we'll start seeing that target. Line up. Let's go left. And we're basically pretty much lined up. I'll activate the autopilot just simply because I want to make sure all sensors and I'm just holding it just to make sure all sensors are there. And now we're good. Now I love the GBUs because you don't have to precisely be right over the actual target area. In this case, the sensor point of interest and the waypoint block are basically over the same thing, which is unique, which is this guy here that we missed last time. So we definitely shouldn't be missing him. Let's zoom in before we make the HUD soy. About right there. And now I'm going to make the HUD soy. So now the HUD is soy. And we're already in CCRP mode, which is good. So once we get this lined up and we have this unwinding, we will most certainly be able to pickle the weapon between the maximum and minimum altitudes. And don't worry guys, here shortly we are going to do some actual gun runs. So we're just getting a little closer to the target. Stuffing some sandwich my wife ate in a couple bites while I'm flying here. All right. About 5.2 nautical miles to target area. I'm going to take it off autopilot. And everything is in green. We are ready to go for a drop. And again, it's just going to drop one bomb. Then we'll fly present heading. We'll do a little climb. And actually, these targets aren't going to shoot back. That's why I set it up. So we're not even going to do the climb just so we can be nosy and watch our bomb drop. All right, guys. I'm going to take it off autopilot now. So we can line up. There we go. Oh, I didn't want autopilot. I wanted to freeze the track IR. There we go. Okay, bomb is away. Let's put that back on and let's go to the bomb view. Let me make sure my autopilot's on. And we are steady Freddy. Okay, back to the bomb view. Hopefully we get a good hit, guys. yeah, we got a good hit. We got a BTR-80 destroyed. Again, that is usually more one of the ones that I don't always get right. So again, I'm surprised that we didn't get the other one right. Boom! Yes, we got it. Good hit. So we got a good hit on that. We're going to fly present heading. Once again, keeping our speed. And we're going to turn around and we're going to use our actual Mavericks again. Because we want to get a good hit on that. Right now we're only 3.4 from there. So we'll continue to cruise this way. Let's go back up. And then of course that target has been destroyed. So we're going to have to find a new speed. Let's take that off. And we're going to try our 65 hotels this time. And let's go into the profile for them. We're going to do single. I just changed this to CCRP anyway. Save it. I'll go back into that profile again. Oops. Maverick. Let's see. View Pro. Again, minimum altitude 100. And I wonder if that... Oh, that's to launch it. The plane wouldn't launch it below that. So that's not that. So yeah, just curious why we didn't have a hit. We got one good hit. So we'll turn around and do it again here in a second. Let's get this back on Maverick. That we're armed, and once we make our turn, we'll find another target and make it happen. So I'll make this the TGP soy until we turn around. Hi, honey. Alright, might be walking through. We're at about 10 nautical miles, so about 15 we'll make our turn. Sorry guys, I was muting the mic. I was using these little bit of miles to shove some food in my mouth. Alright guys, we're going to go back to our heading of roughly 70 with another left turn. Try to keep this as level as possible. All right, start tapering our turn off. Alright, there is the target area once again. Level out again here. A little bit under 10,000, that's fine. Alright, so there's the target area. Let's go ahead and slew this around and find us something else. Let's use our slew skills here. See if we can find us another target. There we go. One, not too far from there. Alright, we're gonna point again. I'm going to hold it TMS up long to designate that as the new speed. Now watch this. As soon as I slave all, this is going to move. Now it is going to the target. And it's almost even in range almost. You could see the smoke where we destroyed the other one. So again, we're going to lock up here and hopefully we'll get a little closer. And as you can see, the field is basically right ahead of us, so there should be no reason for us to even miss this target area. So let's go ahead and make this the SPI. And we'll go ahead and lock it up. I wonder if last time, since we took it off, that is the speed that it didn't work, center of interest. So let me do something really quick before we launch our weapon. On this side. Oh, I hate when it does that. Come on. All right, long hold. I just want to back the zoom off, so if we are going to look at that, we'll have enough so the plane doesn't get too close. All right, guys, let's go back over here. And let's get it locked up now. We're in a good range to lock it up to. 5 miles is pretty dope. See, we locked it up right away. And we got a good lock, guys. We're going to be pickling from the left. And, all right. Rifles 3. All right. Now, let's go ahead and just follow the weapon this time. This one looks like we'll have a good hit. Okay, see, there you go again. So we were, you know, it's not our targeting. It's definitely just an off hit. We did have it locked up here on the TGP, but I think it's the altitude. The computer is having a hard time with the altitude. So let's have a little fun and let's do a gun run now. So this is going to be really easy to do, guys. So the gun run is nothing, so we'll turn the master mode to guns. Now we have guns. Okay. And we're going to put it there we go. That's the bore sight. We could even look at the impact point here. It says invalid now because of where we're at, but we'll make our turn and we'll see what happens. All right, so let's get this display off for a second. And we're just looking here. Let's turn our waypoint back around. And we are most certainly going to head back to the target. Just waiting to get about 5 because we're going to be dropping 2. We're going to do a bit of a bomb here. You can see we got our combat mix, 1,150 rounds. It is armed. And we'll double check that on the DSMS. You can see it's highlighted in green, so that means we're good to go. The gun pack is on. And let's go see if we can... Actually, we'll make our turn really quick and find us a target. We'll make that speed and we'll see if we can destroy that very particular target. So before we're thinking about it, while we're thinking about it, let's make that speed. And let's go ahead and bust our turn. We're keeping our airspeed right where we need to. Remember, back over to 250. I want to stay level. So we're going to go right back on over to 250. Nice level turn. Start straightening it up. Just keep a little bit of a left bank until it comes into HUD view. Alright, looks like we overshot it because we're so close. If we dip our nose, if we get that CC. Now there's the difference, guys. So you don't want to dip too long because remember, this is CCIP shooting. So you don't want to dip too. You got to almost do like a dive bomb in order to get it. We want it on the area. So all right, we're gonna dive now. We're gonna power back. Here we go. We're gonna dive into the target. Alright, so we're essentially using our CCIP to do some serious damage. You see that? We're going to do some damage over here too. Alright. So they're starting to drive off, so they're moving on us. You saw that vehicle moved. He started up and moved because we were shooting at him, so we're going to go back around and do another run there. Let's get some altitude. Surprised they're not shooting at us. Normally I would have been hit by now with my irresponsible tactics here. Let's do this gun run and then we'll come back around and we'll do a alright. Picked up some altitude here. We're just going to come back and visually look for some targets here, guys. Alright. Nose down a little bit so we keep our speed managed. You can see it's right at the 200. Alright, we're going to do some dive bomb type situation here. Okay, this guy's shooting at us right here. Let's dive bomb him.
Pull up, pull up.
Alright. There you go. You can see they were shooting at us this time. It looked like we were on target with that one guy. That's okay. We're going to go to rockets here. Woo! There we go. Alright, let's switch over to rockets. Go to the DMSMS page. Alright, I want to make that one. Alright, DSMS page. Now we're going to switch over to our rockets. Alright. Okay, now we're switched over to our rocket pack. Now we can switch between CCRP, which is set up. And we can go nav, let's see, guns, CCIP. We'll do the impact point for CCIP. Alright guys, let's go ahead and make it happen. Here we go. Let's get some altitude real quick while we make our turn. Okay, there's the field back over there. You see I'm keeping that. I want to keep my climb at least at 200. We want to keep right around that 200 speed, so I'm going to pitch down slightly. We'll do a few more passes and then we'll bring it back into the homestead. You know what, this time, let's go ahead and pick ourselves. Coming back on the speed. If I have enough time, I want to pick a target really quick. Alright, autopilot on really briefly. Let's come over here. Alright, let's zoom in. Boom, 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 boom. Zoom in right on you, guy. You're not going to make it today. Sorry. Alright, we should be speed on this guy right here. Alright. Gonna take autopilot off. Okay. Now you guys see why I like the CCIP for the rockets. It's going to tell us exactly where we need to be. Okay, so we're gonna fire a couple of rockets off now. There we go. Whatever target that was some good shooting right on point. I love the CCIP with the rockets mode. Basically, wherever you're looking, it's calculating the impact point, not the release point. Alright, we got about 2 rockets left on board. Let me simply, there we go. Let's get some more altitude before we make our turn, and we'll keep it in rockets mode. See if we have enough time to find us someone else. And mind you, I kept these simple defenses just because I didn't want anything super elaborate. Look, and we still got our guy lined up. He looks like he's untouched. Who else wants to get hit?
Pull up,
There we go.
pull up.
Just being completely irresponsible. Let's rip this ground.
Altitude, altitude.
There we
Pull
go.
up, pull up.
Pretty risky run there, but hey, we got a BTR destroyed, and it was a pretty low-level gun run, and it didn't turn out well for them. All right, we got 550 rounds left. Coming back around. All right, guys, and I'm going to keep this stream pretty short today, so I think we're going to go ahead and RTB. We did our rockets. We did a successful gun run. Finally, we missed with our doggone AGM-65s, which is highly peculiar for me to miss with those. I always hit. Alright guys, so at this point we had some good damage. We're going to come back with a few weapons on our rack. We're all out of rockets. Alright, so now we'll get back on course. We're getting ready to Let's see, let's come over here. Steer point 7. And let's go to home. Let's go as fast as we can. We'll climb up a little bit to about 5,000. There's our steer point there. Okay, we're at 5,000. Come a little left. Alright, autopilot has been engaged. Now what we can do is start getting all this madness off. Weapons off. This is the steer point. And of course now we can come here and turn our gun pack off, and we can turn our master mode off. And once we get a little closer over the water, we'll get our lights back on. We'll cruise in right at 5,000. We've got about 38 nautical miles to RTB. Just a little bit of Tuesday practice. We're going to bring it back into the barn. But this is what I wanted to start doing on the channel, was essentially start broadcasting DCS2, since this is a passion of mine too. So much learning to do with this thing here, but I'm okay, just enough to blow up a few different things here, which is awesome. Yeah, I gotta kind of bulk up my DCS World too. I need to kind of immerse myself and see what other mods there is for it. I want to download a couple more maps. So we can go ahead and put this in standby now. We don't need this anymore. We can kind of get this back into our CDU. So we're going to work on a really rough ILS approach here. Freestyle. So now that this is done too, we can get this back onto the TAD, which is our tactical awareness display. You can see that waypoint 7 is literally right in front of here. Let me make the TAD soy, and then you could see I'll do the map range. So there's a 20-mile map. Here's I guess the 40 is the best, but essentially we're gonna come here and do a left turn right in to runway 13. Let's see what runway they give us. So first and foremost, what we need to do is we need to come over here. We need to hit function and 2. We're gonna come right over here, and we're gonna go to the divert button. And Batumi is where we're diverting to. So as you can see there, our ILS free, and they runway 13 and 31. So we'll see which runway they want us to go on, so that we know how to approach the field. Of course, now looking at our orientation, and we know the field is off to the left, you can just orientate which field is. If we do a left turn, that's essentially going to be runway 13. If we go and enter the pattern a different way, then that'll be the direction we come in. So at the meantime, let's put in our frequency of 110.3. Let's turn the power on. Power is on. Now what we have to do now is come down here. Instead of TACAN, we're going to be on ILS navigation, and let's go ahead and call the barn, because we are most certainly. So I'm going to slow my speed down a little bit. Here we go.
Batumi, Pig 1-1, inbound.
Let's see what runway they give us.
Pig 1-1, Batumi, fly heading 223, 422, QFE 29.89, runway 13 to pattern altitude.
Alright, so we got runway 13, so it'll be a nice left turn. So the winds must be favorable to that. So we are going to be landing on that runway, and with that being said, let's go ahead and turn our up and up. It's on. Anti-collision is on, and we'll get our landing lights on final, of course. So now, since it's runway 13, you guys know the deal. We need to set this course heading to runway 13, which is 130 degrees roughly, to help us turn inbound. And we'll probably hit this right at about 2,000 feet or so. All right, so we have our heading situated. So I know, if you know your home field, you know I'm just basically going to go a little bit right here, and I'm going to pretty much fly the rest of it manually. And at this point, what DME we are, 16 DME, we can go ahead and get our landing lights on. And we'll start slowing the aircraft down, guys. I'm going to go ahead and take it off the autopilot. We may have to do a little bit of air braking here. Not much, because we're just going down to 2,000 feet here, so. But we absolutely don't want to get too fast. So we're doing a little bit of air braking here. And we'll be on our way in. And in the stream here. And then what you can always do to see where you want to truly be, just go back to your starting point, and that'll also dictate your turn. All right, we're closing those speed brakes for now. We're at about 3,000. Let's see what we got about 11 nautical miles, so we're doing good. We just want to keep a nice slow descent. See, now we're down to about 165. Descending nice and smoothly. Here shortly that ILS will come alive. And we don't want to make our turn yet. You can see we're perpendicular using the TAD, and that's just telling us we need landing gear out. So we'll get the landing gear out. I got flaps down one stage. Picking up on the speed now that we have some resistance. We're about 2,000. Here shortly that ILS should come alive. Hey, what's good? Drew Stone 77 in the house doing some DCS today, brother. Sorry I didn't look down and see this. Super busy flying these military aircraft. Alright, I can see the field over there. Our ILS should be coming alive at any point here. I like our altitude and our speed. I see the runway. Okay, if you look down here, the ILS just came alive, guys. See that? So now that's telling us that we are exactly perpendicular. Once it starts moving, we'll go ahead and make our move and catch the ILS manually and land this aircraft on the ground. And we'll be done with today's little bombing mission. It didn't go perfectly as planned. We got some targets destroyed. We did some gun runs. For those of you like Drew Stone 77 joining the stream, you guys can go back, and we did destroy a couple of targets. Of course, we missed a couple of targets using AGMs, 65 deltas and hotels, which is highly peculiar. I mean, one of them got super close to the target, but I think it may have something to do with...
1-1, cleared for visual, contact tower.
Alright, so let's go ahead and contact tower on Let's see. Here we
To
go.
me, Pig 1-1. Request landing.
All right, there's the runway. So I'm gonna reduce power here so we can start bringing the nose down, and then you guys are gonna see that ILS line up. I have a visual of the runway there, so there's no need for me to do anything different. Just to show you guys the ILS. All right, we're gonna do speed brakes out slightly. All right, flaps are set to landing. Speed brakes are coming back in. All right, guys, we overshot the ILS a little bit, but that's okay. We're in a military aircraft. All right, and there you have it, guys. We're on approach. Our speed's a little low. All right, rip ears. Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about, Drew Stone. R.I.P. Is it super loud, Drew? All right, we're coming down here. I never really did a great sound check today. We're gonna keep our speed alive. Is the stream super loud, guys? What is the environmental sound loud? I asked earlier. I don't think anybody responded, so I just assumed it was good. All right, guys, flaps are down to landing. Oh, we got one more stage we can go.
Peak 1-1. To me, check landing gear. Runway 13.
All right, landing gear is down. Speed's a little high. Want to go a little bit left.
Altitude, altitude.
We got Betty warning us about what we already know because we're coming in for a landing. All right, speed is bleeding. We're going to power back slightly to float her on in. All right, we're going to go a little nose up here. All right, guys, we are extending the actual all right, we got a nice touchdown. We'll go ahead and retract those air brakes. We need to turn on the nose wheels.
Peak 1-1. Taxi to parking area.
All right, taxi to parking area. We will do that. We had a nice little touchdown there. What's going on with these brakes? There we go. Sometimes when you throttle back on this thing, it decides to activate the brake in, and it's like, hey, what's going on with that? It's doing it again. Let's go ahead and let's drop those down really quick. Let's get the flaps up, and there we go. All right, very nice. Captain Nate says, A10-C. Now the computer voice was loud. You're good. Oh, got you. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you for letting me know that. See, there goes the brakes again. Like, I don't know why they always activate. Come on. There we go. It's the weirdest thing ever. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. So brakes are off. I think these things are just, I don't know what's going on with these brakes, man. I did it the other day. It should only be holding the brake when I tell it to hold the brake. Nice landing, Drew Stone says. I appreciate you. We do what we can here. If we can get these brakes figured out, they shouldn't be activating every 2 seconds. Again, I don't know why they are. I think it's a glitch. I just have to hold my hand on the brake here. It's like when you throttle back, the brake engages. All right. Oh, now they're working like they're supposed to. Now the brake is working like it's supposed to, guys. Go figure. So guys, welcome back to Batumi. We're gonna open up the cockpit as we're rolling in. You guys have been awesome. Captain's on board, part of the wing group here. Relatively back in the right spot. All right. We definitely have pulled back in. I should have got the taxi light, but I was all messed up with the brake. All right, guys, here. LOL, wait till you fly. My F-16 flaring and that was like pointing to no space. Oh, I can only imagine. Guys, we had a great run today. Let's go ahead and get a lot of these systems turned off. We didn't even use that system here, which we should have. And we can go ahead and turn these screens off. We don't need them. And let's get these engines off. Off. We're running battery right now, of course. And we'll hit that master caution. Of course, our SAS is turned off because we cut the power off, which is good. We can turn the radio back on over. Boom, boom, boom. One right click to that off. And inverter off. Battery off, guys. We have most certainly did what we could do. We're back on the outside of the aircraft, guys. Thank you guys so much for riding on with us today. Hopefully, like I said, I'm going to be doing more simulator stuff. We're going to be doing some stuff that is actually multiplayer. That's what I love about DCS. You can just literally get right in there and let them know that you're ready to go, because they already have these servers set up. And hopefully, if I meet some more folks, we'll do some joint DCS together. In the meantime, guys, from the cockpit here in Batumi, I'm Dre Sanchez. Thank you guys for always riding along with me. And I'm going to go ahead and close the stream out and look forward to seeing you guys on the next stream, whether it's flying X-Plane or anything of that nature. But until then, you guys definitely take care of one another. And be patient with yourself, and just know tomorrow's a new day once God blesses it with us, and we wake up, do something different that day, and do it better. All right, guys, take care. One love.